President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
that's ridiculous.
When staff
It's a ridiculous claim.
What sounded like a call for regime change in Russia, the president, quote, rather than owning his failure, he fumed to friends about how he was treated like a toddler. Was John Kennedy ever babied like that?
And that is Fox's White House correspondent Peter Doocy asking a loaded and antagonistic question of President Biden's spokesperson. And did you catch how Doocy just assumed the story in a book must be true without even asking if it was true? Why does White House staff treat President Biden like a baby, as opposed to does the White House staff treat him like a baby? It would be like asking Peter Doocy, if there was an allegation in a book about him, why do you beat your wife, instead of do you beat your wife? White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre responded to the baby allegation with this.
So look, I'll say this. There's going to be always a range of books that are about every administration, as you know, that's going to have a variety of claims. That is not unusual. That happens all the time. And we're not going to litigate those here. That's something that we're not going to speak to. There is one thing that I do want to, because I think I was asked this question last week by one of your colleagues.
Shocker! Two Fox correspondents in successive weeks ask about the same book excerpt that portrays Joe Biden as incapable. That's right, out of all the news events and policy issues across the United States and around the globe, Fox News is obsessed with a single book excerpt that the organization thinks is a fit with their GOP talking point about Biden.
We did see the excerpt go, the context of the excerpt, and it seemed to be making the opposite overall point about how the value of his experience and wisdom resulted in rallying the free world against authoritarianism, which is important. We have seen this, you all have seen this, and passage of the most historic agenda in recent history in his handling of foreign policy, like rallying the world around Ukraine, as you just heard from our national security advisor, who laid out in really good questions that your colleagues asked about how the president is moving forward.
So instead of focusing on the one line about alleged staff treatment of President Biden, the White House spokesperson noted the larger context in that part of the book that hails President Biden's wisdom and foreign policy experience. For the record, the book is titled The Last Politician, authored by The Atlantic's Franklin Forbes. There is a passage in the book where President Biden fumes about the backtracking his aides had to do after he went off script in talking about Russia's Vladimir Putin and said Putin cannot remain in power. The book says that Biden knew he had made a verbal mistake but resented his aides for creating the impression that they had cleaned up his mess, and Biden allegedly complained to friends that the staff had treated him like a toddler. A boss's occasional frustration with staff in any organization is not unusual, but Peter Doocy's shamelessness and lack of basic integrity now seems predictable. And remember, in this instance, he was not asking about something that he or any other White House reporters had witnessed. He was asking about a secondhand allegation delivered to a book author who had also not witnessed the exchange. And yet that was enough for Peter Doocy to declare the allegation as the truth, not just in that one incident, but in broad perpetuity for how the White House staff treats President Biden. That's reckless and a failure of journalism 101. And that approach also doesn't tend to produce any meaningful news. Instead of asking legitimate questions like, what's the White House response to the allegation? Or, is this how the staff regularly handles President Biden? Doocy treated it as an unassailable fact. There has long been a saying that Fox News never lets the truth or journalistic responsibility get in the way of the Fox News GOP agenda. This was another clear example, and it reinforces that the baby or toddler in the White House who has no control, poops on himself, and always produces a smelly and disgusting mess is Peter Doocy. By the way, one of the frequent Fox News guests is Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene. She recently freaked out and is now getting mocked.
I've been at home hanging out with all of the great, wonderful, normal people that actually have a brain and have common sense.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.